Part sermon, and it dealt with the same gospel. So last week I had a message about a semi-truck that I had purchased. I had purchased this truck, and 3 weeks later I went to the dealership to pick it up, and I did not make it home with this truck. So I took it back to the dealership and traded it for a different one of poor quality, and I drove it home. And I made it home. That was the important part. So after I made it home, I proceeded to work on it. I took the truck down to Doran's truck repair and had it repaired. And I got it home and I made it roadworthy. Then it was time to go to the courthouse. A foolish thing. I should have done that first. I went to the courthouse, had it inspected by the sheriff. Everything was okay. Went to the treasurer's office. They typed in the VIN into their computer and they said, "Dale, the truck is stolen. You are unable to license it at this moment."
No.
So we took a picture of the truck, the VIN, and everything. We sent it to the Department of Motor Vehicles in Lincoln. The next day I got a phone call, said everything's okay, the truck is okay, you can drive it now. Come in and get it licensed. Of course they needed their money. Then I bought a trailer for it. And the trailer was used, but I bought it from a dealership in Sioux City. We went to the dealership and we looked the trailer over. We were very happy with the one that we picked out. But something was telling me to look inside before I bought it. So I crawled up the ladder and they rolled the tarp open and I noticed there was a hole about the size of a pop can laying flat in the hopper. Hauling grain, it's kind of a bad deal because all of your grain will run out through the little hole. So we had the hole repaired and I picked it up a few weeks later. And now the truck and the trailer are married till death do them part. That was the first story. Now the first story I didn't give you much spiritual guidance or stimulation, but this one is where it hits. Grace and peace to you from God our Father and His Son, Jesus Christ. I am a good stockman. That was the impression that I had for myself at the beginning of March. Brooke and I were coming home from feeding our cattle down at another place where we have our background in steers and heifers, and I was admiring on how well they were conditioned. We had such an easy winter this year. There was hardly any snow. The temperatures were okay. The feed kept well. They gained phenomenally. They look spectacular. Their coats are wonderful. There's no bugs or fleas. And we took good care of them. I also thought I was a good stockman because now I'm 40 years of age. I've been around these animals for all of my life. And I felt like I had a good understanding and a relationship with them. I knew which cows were mean, which cows were calm, how to direct them through a corral, how to watch their ears to make them turn the way that I need to get them into a chute. I was a good stockman, or so I thought. On March 30th, it was a Sunday, and it was a rainy Sunday, it was a cold Sunday, and I had the task of doing chores before church. So since it was raining out and it was cold and I have all these hired men sitting up here, I had the help of Esden that I woke up and he hastily got out of bed and came downstairs in a fit and helped me do our chores. We were calving already, and we have all of our cows in a dry lot, which means they're not on grass, they're in a pen where we feed them daily and we haul the manure out and all that stuff. But when they're in the mud and in the rain and they have a calf, it's important to get them to dry ground. So the calf gets dried off and learns to be with its mother. So we had a cow that had a calf. She was a black cow, a few years old. She had a yellow tag. I knew her to be a calm cow. So we have the skid loader with an apparatus that attaches to the front of it. It's like a cage that is see-through so that we can put the calf into this cage and then the cow will follow it into the catch pen to get to a dry place. So I had the calf in there, and Ezen was in a safe place, and we had her into the first set of gates, and he had shut the gate behind us, and he was waiting at that, and I was going to put her into the barn. As I had the calf in this apparatus, the cow was following and was close by, and I got out of the skid loader to walk around it, to open the gate to let the calf into the catch pen, into the barn. Well, the cow had different ideas. The cow was on the other side of the machine, but she saw me get out, and she panicked and backed up, and then charged me. Usually when cows charge you for the first time, they'll kind of bump up against you, and if you holler or hit them or whatever it might be, they'll back off and leave you alone. Well, this was the case with her. I hit her, and she backed up about 2 steps. But then all she was doing was winding up for the big punch. She came at me again, and she hit me square in the chest and knocked me down, and I slid in the mud. It was muddy and raining that day. I slid in the mud. And then she proceeded to get on top of me and hit me a few more times with her head and tried to trample me with her hooves. Then she got over the top of me where all I was looking at was her navel. And then she tried to kick me, but I was laying flat, not standing up. Then she turned away from me and went back to her calf. It was about 10 seconds for the whole deal, but it seemed like an eternity for that cow just to leave me alone. And I was screaming hysterically, not knowing if this was my last breath of air. Ezen was sitting at the other end of the yard, about 50 feet away at the gate, and he was as white as the walls in this sanctuary. And he was screaming, Dad, what do I do? Do I go get Mom? And at that time, I was still trying to figure out what had happened. I was bleeding from my lip. My top teeth had gone through my lip, and it was really swollen and painful. But I stood up, and we got the cow and secured into the pen, and then I was going to call Brooke. I was wearing bib overalls at the time, jean ones, and I always keep my cell phone in the breast pocket. It's a safe place for it to be. It also keeps it warm during the winter months so the battery doesn't drain. But I went to go grab it, and it wasn't there. I reached for my plier. I noticed it wasn't there either. My pockets were all empty. All of my possessions were laying in the mud where I had been just a little bit ago. But I found my phone, and the first person I texted was Jen Keller, and I said, I'm not going to make it to Sunday school today. Can you cover for me? Then we went to the house, we changed clothes, and I put on a pair of shorts and a hoodie, and I went out, and I went to proceed to finish chores for the morning. And then we drove down to that other feedlot where we had those calves, and I thought about how good of a stockman I really am. I wasn't at all. On the way back home, I was traveling alone, and I started to cry because I was thinking about all those people who I had let down because I got hurt. I was worried about Brooke because she'd have to take care of me, or worse, that I would have died. I thought about Ezen, on what a shock that would be for a 12-year-old boy to see his dad killed by a cow for the rest of his life. And I thought about my other children to be fatherless and what an effect that would have on them for the success of their future. And I thought about Mom and Dad and how tough that would be for them to lose the guy who's taking care of their empire. And how sad it would be for me to be gone. I thought about Paul Shuddy. That was the day of his dad's funeral, and I was so looking forward to going to celebrate his life with him, but I was unable to go. But then the angels of this sanctuary, of this church, of this town, of Wayne, my family, and all those that surrounded me started to call me and ask if I was okay. I've had people call, I've had people text, I had people bring me food for supper to help us, to show God's love for me. What happened to me that day was a wake-up call. It wasn't about the truck that I had bought to get rich. It wasn't about all the things that we have that we hold dear in our life. It was about God's love for me. God had blessed me with many things. And at that time, before that cow knocked me over, I thought I was responsible for all of them. But I wasn't. God was responsible for all of those good things that happened to me. And he also was responsible for the bad things that happened to me. And he was also responsible for the recovery after that, sending all of you people for your care and kindness towards me, for Dad and Mom to stop out and make sure that I was okay, for Brooke to be there to mend my wounds. It was all something that God had sent for me. I also thought on that tractor ride home when I was crying about laying in that mud and how we're in that dirt on our last day when we're buried. with nothing in our pockets, no phone to call and ask for help or to tell people who we love that we're going to be gone for a while or where we're going, and how lonely that is, and how alone you are. And the only thing that you have is yourself and your faith for God. And how important that is to me now, because I have been awoken by a black cow with a yellow tag. So praise be to God today, tomorrow, and always. Let's all give him thanks for the things he gives us, the people around us, the angels that surround us, and the life that we get to live because of him. Whether or not we're in a Freightliner or not. In his name, amen.